The first thing that we need to do is to break the ice. Whether or not we do it or they do it isn't the issue. It's that it is done, okay? To break the ice, a couple of examples of what we can do is, I guess we can observe something in the office when we walk in. Nobody expects you to go in with blinders. You're a human being with eyes. You've just entered a new environment. Take a look around. Nothing wrong with that. So stop and notice something that might be different in the office. Maybe the individual has a picture of a sailboat in the office. That may be a good lead-in. I see that you're a sailor. How long have you been doing that? Get a little bit of a conversation going. Another way to break ice is humor. Now, I'm not going to give you a series of one-liners, but understand that humor is okay. You can go in and make a comment that results in a chuckle for both of you. There's nothing wrong with that. A third way to break the ice is something that I call gentle flattery. You know, there's only two types of people in the world that can be flattered, men and women. That's about it. And if you've got one of them that happens to be interviewing you, you might just say, you know, I've really been looking forward to this meeting with you. It's a nice way just to break the ice. Another thing that you might utilize to break the ice, if you're going into a technical position or a position that involves business, you might want to grab a copy of the newspaper, the Wall Street, a technical trade magazine, and read a short article about the industry or about that particular company. And you might start off by saying, you know, I noticed that metal fabrication is down. How does that affect your particular business? Or whatever. It's something that you come in with some little tidbit prepared to crack the ice. When we first got started, somebody mentioned that they were uncomfortable with something that most employers ask, and that is, John, tell me something about yourself. It's a very generalized question. It takes the burden of pressure off of the employer because it opens it up so widely. I don't think they're heavy enough to realize that they're doing this, but in essence, what they are doing is giving us an opportunity to open up the conversation with whatever we think is most important in our life. Tell me something about yourself. It opens the employer up to see what is priority in your mind. So there's one way to avoid getting stuck by prioritizing something that they didn't want prioritized, and that is to answer the question this way. Peter, tell me a little bit about yourself. John, I'd love to. Exactly where would you like me to begin? And let the employer set the priority. He or she will then say, well, let's begin with what you do for a living right now. Now we know we've got to cut away all the ice type of a person, slip right in, let's get down to business, okay? Or he or she may say, I don't know, begin with your family life. You know, well, what does that tell us about their sense of priority? It just opens things up for us. It gives us an indication where we can begin safely. Safely, that's the key. This and one other area are just about the only things that I'm going to spoon feed you with, and that is tell me about yourself, and the other thing is how to handle money. In the heat of battle, those two issues need not be confused or mixed with anything incorrect. So I will drill that you learn those two things right. But everything else, you have to let your own personality shine. You can't walk around discussing Lefkoisms, okay? You can't have things come out of your mouth the way that they would come out of my mouth, or the mouth of an author, or the mouth of somebody else on video. It needs to be yours. And if you make people think that you are somebody that you are not during the interview process, your real colors will show shortly after you're hired, which is why people who are prepared to interview beyond their own phraseology or beyond their own logic always get discovered a couple of weeks after they end up getting the job. You really need to be yourself, okay? So it's really an art of matching the true you to a company that is like you, okay? So let's not go overboard in trying to assimilate to the point where we get out past who we really are, okay? It's not going to be a long-lasting relationship if we do that. Okay, right now I want to arm you with certain action words that you can either use on a resume, but you need to write these words down to the point where they become part of your vocabulary during your conversations and you're building your worth in front of your employer, okay, your future employer. Action words such as I planned, I created, I originated, I initiated, developed, conceived, implemented, formulated. These are words that we don't typically use during the course of the day. Condition yourself to integrate this into your vocabulary, okay? I don't think that it'll take you out of your own personality, but what I do think it will do is give you an edge that your competition may not have, okay? Arm yourself with leadership words if you've been in a leadership situation and that's what you're trying to sell, such as I organized, I directed, I led, I supervised, I guided, I managed, I was responsible for, I presided over, I coordinate, I built, and I gave direction to. Those are words that will help create an image of leadership. Arm yourself with result phrases. It led to, contributed to, I demonstrated that, I saved, I reduced, I collected, I achieved, I provided for, I increased, I shot holes in, I evaluated. Okay? These are words which will help round you out a little bit during a period of time where you're worried about how do I get my message across. Allow some of your words to get the message across. Okay? All right, now that we've got the vocabulary, we basically need to rehearse this self-presentation that we're about ready to put on, okay? And this is really the scariest part. This is at the point where he or she says, well, you know, why don't you go back a couple of jobs and just bring me up to date, what you've been doing. No problem. Great. This is the part that we really start to get like this, okay? This, believe it or not, is the easiest thing to prepare for. This is the easiest thing to prepare for. But it means the more you rehearse, the better you do it. The more you rehearse, the better you do it, okay? Now, in the presentations that they'll ask you to put on, the way I see it, there are 3 types of presentations that we go through during the course of an interview. The first generally is a very short synopsis. When you first sit down and you get through some of the ice breaking and you get through the beginning part of the format, now it's your turn to talk a little bit. Pete, tell me, briefly about yourself. I read your resume a little bit, but tell me about yourself. Well, I'd love to. Exactly where would you like me to begin? Oh, I don't know, wherever you feel most comfortable. See, that's a guy who's been through our other course, Nah. So, then you say, well, I don't know, maybe it might be easiest if I just gave you a short synopsis and then we can take it from there. Whatever you'd like to dissect, we can go from. I guess for the past 6 years, I've been in the executive search industry. I have gone through being an executive search consultant to a senior consultant and then being recognized for certain high-performance characteristics that I guess I work towards. Within the last 2 years, I broke away and I did this and I did that and da-da-da-da-da. And I guess in about 30 seconds, that's me. The second presentation usually comes in terms of back and forth conversational dialogue about individual jobs that you've had, okay? Well, that's interesting. Tell me a little bit about when you worked for Xerox. What were some of the automated systems that you worked with there? And now they're asking you to pinpoint certain qualities about certain jobs that you've just discussed in your synopsis. So you need to be prepared to dissect one of those jobs, actually each one of the jobs that you've had, and discuss it in length. Then the third form of a presentation is that after they get done hearing your generalities and certain specifics about jobs, now it's the interviewer's chance to let his ego or her ego flourish and just to show you just how much technical stuff they know. So now they're going to quiz you. Well, tell me a little bit, in terms of, the IBM System 38, exactly what was your relationship with the MAPEX system? Now they're going to try and break you down into the technical qualifications that are necessary to actually do the job. So, again, the 3 forms of presentation that you have to be comfortable with is, number 1, a short paragraphical synopsis. The second thing is some back and forth individual, let me explain to you about job A, job B, job C, and then within job A to dissect one particular function that you need to work on to be successful in that job that also matches to their job. Do you follow? All right, now, that's scary to be able to do unless we have a method that can help us prepare for that. We speak with less command than when we write. When we write, we can take time to put things down grammatically correct. See, that was even wrong, grammatically correct. We can punctuate properly. We can take time to really put our thoughts down in a logical and impressive fashion, okay? Remember that when you write something down, you log it up here much better than when you speak it. So guess what technique we're going to use to really drill this stuff into our brains so that when they ask us about certain things, we can deliver it with the same style, good language, vocabulary, and impressiveness that is necessary. What do you think we're going to do? You betcha. Okay? Simple trick. And you will learn it without even feeling like you're having to work on something. Okay? So, for the first presentation that we do, this short synopsis, we are only going to give ourselves 1 page of a legal pad to write an entire synopsis about our whole career. As limiting as that sounds, it is possible. So you take 1 legal page, and on the top of it you write short synopsis. And then you write. In 1982, I joined the accounting field in a public accounting firm called da-da-da-da-da. I worked for 6 months as a staff auditor, experiencing payables and receivables. A year from then, I was then promoted into a senior accountant and was then responsible for coordinating a number of audits. 2 years later, I reached the managerial position, at which time I added staff people that I was responsible for. In 1985, I was awarded an excellence nomination for client development. Very simple. 1 page, okay? Short synopsis. Now, you write 2 of these things, because the first you're not going to like, the second will get a little better, okay? And you write it out a couple of times to the point where then you go to your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or a buddy of yours and you say, quiz me, ask me for a short synopsis. And you throw the paper away and you say, in 1982, I joined the accounting industry. And I started as da-da-da-da-da, and you're able to spit it out the same way that an actor spits out their script. Okay? You remember passages of phraseology because you've written it. And when you've written it, you had to think it first, then you had to write it, then you had to read it again and reinterpret it. 3 times you've been working with it, just in 1 paragraph, okay? So you do that. And get it to the point where it's polished and you like the delivery and you're comfortable with it. And get that down and then throw it away. You've logged it, okay? It's here. Now, for this second presentation, we're going to dissect 1 particular job. We're now going to go back to the legal pad, and we're going to write 1 whole page on that 1 whole job. We're going to do that for each one of the jobs that we feel is important to discuss. Now we go to the third form of the presentation, which is where they dissect technical, pinpointed questions. Okay? Within the MAPEX system, explain to me, how are materials handled? You know, exactly how did that work? Then we pull out another legal page, okay? And this one is the most critical, and this is what I want you guys to concentrate on the most. And this is what I call the T account. And on this legal page, you draw a big T. Draw a line down the middle and a line across, causing 2 columns to form. The left column up on top, you want to head new job responsibilities. And you then write down a list of the 4 or 5 responsibilities that you know exist in this brand new job that you're going to be interviewing for. On the right column, up on top, you list similarities of previous positions. And let's say, for instance, that I'm interviewing for an accounting spot, and one of my job functions in this new job is financial statement analysis, okay? On the right side, I'm going to write down something like, in 1982 at C.J. Patterson Manufacturing Company, I was given the responsibility for financial statement preparation and analysis. During the 3rd quarter of 1985, my controller was terminated. I then took over that spot for the next 6 months in his absence. During that period of time, I located $125,000 worth of lost receivables. Whatever you come up with. Obviously, it has to be factual. You must make analogies that when the client, when the employer says to you, tell me a little bit about your skills in financial analysis, you can separate yourself from all the other people that are interviewing with that company that go, God, okay, okay, in 1985, in 85, I worked for a company called I think it's on my resume, C.J. Patterson. And during that period of time, I was responsible for financial statement analysis. But let's see, this guy, in June, my boss was terminated in June. And then at that point, they gave me Do you see how it flows? It's choppy. You see, you're thinking in the interview. There is no time for thinking. There is time for performing. Okay? You tell me what the difference is. I've written it down and I've rehearsed it 4 or 5 times, and somebody else hasn't. In 1982, I worked for a company that went through an entire programming change within their computer system. We brought in a consulting firm that was very instrumental in teaching myself as well as some of the other people the functions of that system. As a result of us putting that system up, our company increased their da-da-da-da-da by da-da-da-da-da. Next. Next question. Do you see the difference in your ability to retrieve information and just to knock it out responsively? Because you've done what? You rehearsed, man. You're like this. You've studied it. You've gotten good at what you're doing. How did you guys get good at what you do? You practiced it a lot in your jobs.
Do you try to meet the qualifications exactly to what they're qualified?
I try and meet the truth. I try and meet the truth. I think I hear what you're saying, and you don't mold your skills just to what the company wants just to get the job. If you do that, you're going to get your butt booted out when they find out the reality of the situation is that you don't know how to do it. Okay? And, there's something that I call faking it until you make it, and there is some bearing on that, but don't stretch it to a point where you can't come up with the goodies when they call for it. Okay?
You were saying not to think. You want to give robot answers, or do you want to put some personality?
What do you think? No, maybe I didn't phrase it properly. Of course you must think, but for every moment, let me put it to you this way. For every moment that your employer watches you think, you lose credibility. Unless there is a situation where they're putting you through problemic solving. And at that point, they're asking you to solve questions or solve situations, and then you need to show them that you're thinking. But in terms of understanding your own background, you guys, if you don't understand yourself and what you did in your own life, look how goosey that makes us all. If you don't understand yourself and what you've done with your own life, how are you supposed to be expected to understand the technical implications of what this job's all about? They want to see you together, like this. Tell me about your knowledge of this. I'd love to. From about 19 so-and-so to 19 so-and-so, I was responsible for this and this. And as a result of what I did, the company did this. You see, there's this philosophy in sales training which is called features and benefits. Have you guys ever heard of that? You explain the feature of something. Like I have the ability to, one of my features is that I have the ability to relocate with the company. Okay? Feature and a benefit. But you need to take it one step past there. It needs to be feature, benefit, and cash value to the company. I have the ability to relocate. So what? Well, that means that if I can move with the company doesn't have to incur executive search costs all over the country. You save money. Ah, I get it. You see, you need to take it to a point where they feel it in their budget. Okay? Where this personnel person who's interviewing you, who doesn't think about cost savings to the company, where she can get this idea from you and go to her boss and say, I think that she might be a good hire because in my opinion, we have the ability to save money on search fees if she's relocatable, which she is. Well, whose idea was it? Yours. But she adapted it, she used it, and what's the difference? Who cares? As long as it results in us doing what we want to do, okay? Think for them. Okay? Bring these benefits into cash features to either save money, to generate money, or to do what? Save time and efficiency, okay? So the T account is one of the most important preparations that you can make to interview well. You lay out all of the qualities that you think are going to exist in the job function that you're going to take on. And then you feverishly write paragraphs as to what you've done in the past that relates to that particular function that you have to do. And you just snap out your analogies like this. Take it past the analogy into the cash value to a firm. That's all they're interested in.
Is it better to keep it specific to exactly what they're looking for?
I'd say it's Mike, right? I'd say, Mike, that you could load up, but you only pull the trigger when they ask you to. Okay? Lot of you guys have talked yourselves out of jobs, okay? You've given them what they want to hear, and then you kept on talking, okay? Use your tact, know how much they want to hear, give them what they want to hear, and then save a little for some mystery, okay? If you feel that what you need to talk to them about in terms of other qualities that you have is going to help you, then by all means do that. But just to hear yourself talk and to let them know that you've prepared well, that's not the end result of what we're trying to achieve.
Well, then generally, how long should your responses be?
Again, don't tell them how the clock was made. Just tell them what time it is, okay? Be as thorough as you need to be to get the job done, but don't become flamboyant and don't become a storyteller, okay? Let them know what they need to hear and then move on. All right. In essence, what we've just been talking about is the difference between you doing excellently during an interview. That has nothing to do with getting the job, okay? Understand that. You can do excellent at an interview and not get a job. You, sir, are not cut out for every employer that you're going to talk to. Neither are you. Neither are you. When you do excellent in an interview, it means that you brought to the table everything that you were capable of and that you delivered it in a way that is you. And if that's not right for them, tough bananas. You did what you did, okay? Interviewing excellently has nothing to do with getting a job. Whether or not the chemistry is right has to do with getting the job, okay? Your chemistry doesn't have to be right with everybody. You didn't have to marry every person you dated. You waited till the feeling was right. A company does that, and we do that. But go in with your guns loaded. Have the ammunition to do it properly. Write things down in preparation for your delivery, because you'll find they just come out. They just come out in groups of words and phraseology that you never could have mustered if you just had to wing it, okay? Writing it down is critical. Any questions?
For us who don't have a lot of work experience, is that a good place to start throwing in the, oh, I was vice president of this club, and that gave me great skills working with people, et cetera, et cetera?
One of the ways that I would start if I were a student would be to let the employer know why you selected that company to match your skills with. And so I say to you, or you do it to me.
Okay, Peter, tell me about yourself.
Oh, I'd love to. Exactly where would you like me to begin?
Why don't you decide where to begin?
Well, I guess I'd like to start just by telling you the reason why I'm here today, and that is that based on researching as much as I could about the company, I really felt that this company had some direct links to the things that I've trained in and studied and been through at school that made it a strong match for me. And I guess one of the things that I'd like to do today is to try and explain to you how I perceive some of those matches in hopes that you feel they may be applicable. How's that sound? Okay? All right. But don't say that. Say it your way. Okay? Say it your way.
You know, on the other side of the coin, he's referring to having very little or no experience. What do you do if you've got a lot? I mean, you can rattle off job after job after job. So how can you make that work to your advantage as opposed to making you look like you've been job hunting?
I think that, you know, by the time a resume has been received and they have seen that you've had 13,000 jobs, okay, in the past 11 years, the fact that they've asked you to come in for an interview says, we may not be pleased with it, but it didn't totally disqualify her. So if that is the case, then I would stick to pulling out things out of your past that are directly applicable to making this new company work better. Work better, make more money, save time, save money. All the things that employers are looking for. Pull out not the long history of what you've done, but the things that you can directly take from there and give to them. That's all they want to know about. That's all they want to know about. We now go into another form of rehearsal, and that is to rehearse important questions. Now within the format, we've put on our presentation. They've now put on their presentation, hopefully. And we're now at the point where we have to come up and perform again with questions. And I'm assuming that we've all been through interviews where they have said to us, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask at this time? Okay? And we've all been through the point where the interview was so in-depth that there are no questions left. And you end up feeling like a bimbo because we've covered everything, you know? Are there any other important questions that you need answered? No. You know? So what we're going to do is, no, man, you've covered everything. We're now going to try and develop some questions that separate the men from the boys and the women from the girls, okay? We are now going to stand out and be noticed based on the value of the questions that we ask. When somebody hits us with questions that are important questions, we end up going, whew, this person's heavy. You know, I mean, I'm being able to judge their value system by what's important to them in terms of getting answers from me. Do you follow where I'm going here? Okay? So it is my belief that you are judged according to the qualities of the questions as opposed to the quality of your answers. When you ask questions, you demonstrate more than just the quality of the question. You demonstrate listening skills, because what happens when they're answering? They watch our face. They watch how we listen, okay? We demonstrate our people skills by the way in which we go, uh-huh, yeah. No, it's really interesting. Tell me more. And we demonstrate our sincerity. We also, by asking questions and listening to the answers, are able to show our potential employer how we are going to take direction from them. They can see how we'll take directions by how we respond to their answers. Think about that. Listening skills are critical. Sandra, do you have children?
Yes.
Will you tell me a little bit about your kids?
They're very challenging, very stimulating. They're all boys.
What do they do?
Well, they range from 24 to 7. You know, so there's a
Do you know I've got
wide
a
variety
7.
of what they do.
I've got a 7-year-old daughter also, and now, what did I just do with her? I stepped on the last 5 words of her sentence. This is one of the most common misuses of listening, and that is that we step on the end of people's sentences while we're talking to them. We do it for 2 reasons. Number one, we get excited about matching something that they've just said. We don't want to lose it up here. And the other thing is we want to show them how quick we are, how intelligent we are, and we want to show them that we can beat them to their point before they even finish it, because we are so quick in processing information that we can get there way before they did. Okay? It's been proven that the last 5 words of every sentence linguistically contains much more substance than any other part of the sentence. When you are listening in an interview to the way in which your questions are being answered, you need to do 2 things. Number one, you need to wait until they're completely finished with what they're saying. And after that, you need to count to 2. And that makes people feel good, because that's just confirmation that I was listening. So, to do something of what my people in my company have called the acknowledgement grunt, okay? Which is to listen and let them finish, and when they're done, interesting. And then carry on with your conversation. If you listen to me completely, I owe you a good listening. And it works. If you let somebody complete their thought process, they owe you one. How are they going to cut you off when you haven't cut them off? Okay, so keep that in mind when you're starting to go through your questions. The questioning process has a couple of different reasons. Number one is just to get your answers. Number two is to show them how intense we are and how we think differently than everybody else that sat in the same chair. And the third thing is to show them our people skills and our listening abilities. Let's talk about questions that will separate you guys from the rest of the pack. Mr. Employer, I guess a couple of things that I wanted to find out. Number one, what are some major short and long-range objectives that the company really has? Hell, I don't know. Martha, hire this guy. He's smart. I mean, I hadn't even thought. Okay, most of them don't even think about that. They're mid-management people. Okay? They're not thinking about long and short range opportunities or objectives for the company. Show them that you've got the kind of forethought to think about where the company might go. Mr. Employer, what are 2 or 3 characteristics that the company considers to be unique or attractive about itself? Now, when that's answered, you are now watching your boss sell for the very first time. And you'll see how well they sell or how poorly they sell. Well, hell, Unique. There's no other company that is in this building except for us. We are the only people in this. Okay, you will find out whether or not they know how to sell their company, what their corporate pride is, whether or not they're responsive about their company, okay? Mr. Employer, what other industries or outside influences affect your company's growth? Mr. Employer, in what area does this company excel? In what area does this company have some limitations? What are some of the common denominators that exist in successful employees of this company? That's a good question. Because now they're giving you the answer that you can take to the next person in the company that you interview with. Okay? Well, unfortunately, and this is just the way life is, most people in this company work 60 to 62 hours a week. And it's an unwritten rule. It's nothing that we hold anybody to, but we all kind of consider ourselves intrapreneurs. And we all have the same commitment to developing this company that the owner does. So we really don't feel hours. Now, they might be trying to scare you away by that to find out what your thoughts are about that, okay? But at least you know that that's one common denominator. So when your next interview says, what type of characteristics do you think that you possess that our company might benefit with? Well, I don't know if this affects anything, but I've generally, very rarely averaged less than 62 hours a week. The interviewer's going, oh my God. Okay? But you follow how that can help you pull information that you may be able to turn around and work with. Again, you do not want to turn it around and twist it back to them if it's not true, if it is not a characteristic that you possess. What areas does the company need polishing or development in? Now, that's a little bit of a negative, but it also shows that you've got the guts to ask a question like that, should the position and the level that you're going into require those guts. What would you add or subtract to the incumbent's performance or to the company's performance to increase production or efficiency? If they fired somebody and you're coming in to interview for that job, this will tell you what you need to do in order to make that job work better for the company. Based on what you've seen so far of me, where do you think that I can contribute the most effectively? Now, that doesn't get you an answer as to whether or not you've done well or not. But you also have to realize that you do put somebody on the spot with a question like that. And the first interview might not be the best place for that answer. Okay? I could sit here and feed you all the questions in the world. Again, we don't want to arm you with what you're not capable of doing on your own, okay? The point is, you need to turn the tape off for a while and you need to write a list of questions that your competitors will not write. You need to be different, you guys. You need to have a competitive edge that makes you stand out amongst your peers. You need to try and find qualities that you possess, that they may possess also, but they haven't taken the time to discover them, to write them down, to rehearse. Okay? This is critical. It's critical. Okay. We now want to get into something that couples phraseology, but it involves a very sensitive issue. That is the issue of money. How do we handle the issue of money? In my opinion, you guys, there's only one way to answer this with dignity, with logic, and with a degree of etiquette that allows you to find out the truth in this relationship, this potential relationship. Pete, exactly what kind of money are you looking for? What would it take to bring you on next week? If we wanted to make you an offer, what would we actually need to offer you? John, there are two reasons why I'm here today. And obviously, dollars is one, but the key issue is opportunity. And I envision opportunity within this firm. I guess what I'd like to say to you is that at the end of our meeting process, if you have an interest in me, I would like to entertain your strongest offer. Okay? Now, let's break that down. What does that do? Okay? First of all, it puts a hell of a lot of pressure on them that you're not playing. You want one offer. I want your strongest offer. Okay? Now, I do want people to understand that that phraseology could be strong at a secretarial level. Okay? What we're dealing with here primarily might be a $20,000 position and up. Okay? But by saying I would have an interest in entertaining your best or your strongest offer puts them in a position where they now have to perform for us. They have to make a financial assessment on our skill level, and we've told them we're interested in one figure, your strongest offer. So now when they come back with a low ball, they feel like hell. Okay? Because they probably won't come back with a low ball because we've made them aware of the fact that we're interested in their strongest offer.
Do you ever disclose a certain figure? Do you ever break that rule?
I guess there are exceptions to every rule.
I mean, have you ever been in a position where you've had to break your own rule? And
I personally haven't, but there are candidates who I've represented who have, and they've either paid the consequences. When you pull a dollar figure down, you must live with that. When you say, I would take this job for $19,000, I would take this job for $57,000 and a bonus, and I'm accustomed to a 10% bonus, you are going to get a $57,000 offer with a 10% bonus. You have to live with whatever you give yourself. You also have to realize that you may not receive an offer because of the way in which you judged the company's ability to pay you. The company may not be able to come up with that type of money. So you expose yourself is what you do when you talk about money early during the interview process.
Haven't you already sort of exposed yourself most of the time in filling out an application or something when they ask what your salary was on your last job? I mean, you've already come to a certain...
You have if you filled that part in. And I would recommend that you write open or negotiable or just don't fill it out.
I was offered a position and the discussion of salary was always put off and put off. Ultimately, I turned down the position, but I was very uncomfortable. It was an intriguing position, but I couldn't get them to discuss salary. We always said, well, let's discuss salary privately, or we will discuss salary later, or tomorrow, and then he would have other people present. And
There's something that I call, pardon me for cutting you off, but there's something that I call business cool. Business cool is having enough courage not to discuss salary until they bring it up. You've been through the interview process and you want the offer. Can we, Sarah, we haven't discussed compensation yet. Could you tell me a little bit about the company's compensation program? You've now exposed yourself as wanting the job worse than they want to offer it. And you have to pick a fine meld between losing your business cool and saying, take me, make me an offer, and saying, money isn't important until you think it's important. And let's not discuss money as an issue until we're both comfortable with the fact that this is the right career move for both of us. So then you have the ability on the tail end, when they haven't asked you about money and when they haven't found out what you were currently earning and they make you a poor offer, you have the ability and the pride left to say, no, I don't think that's going to be acceptable. And they say, well, why not? And we say, well, are you aware of the kind of money that I'm currently earning? Well, no, what are you earning? We can do some therapy back on the company. A company that doesn't take the interest in finding out your financial status before they extend an offer is probably not a company that is well thought out. That might be a good representation of other management styles that they have. Okay? Don't beg for jobs, you guys. If you want it, you ask for it professionally. You must ask for the job. Okay? When you guys blind dated for the first time, or you dated somebody for the first time, you know how each party was kind of nervous about exposing themselves by saying, would you like to get together a second time? But if nobody took the courage to say that, there wouldn't have been another date. Somebody must say, I've got an interest in pursuing this. That person needs to be us, but not at the expense of begging. All right, I think now we've rehearsed the verbal presentation, the verbal side. Let's talk about our physical presentation, okay? And the image part of this interview and the physical preparation. As crazy as this sounds, rehearse the drive, provided that it's a local company. Okay? Honey, I'll be in Cleveland for a day or two. If it's a local organization, get in your car and make the drive and time it. See how long it's going to take you. You do that for 2 reasons. Number one, you have to determine whether or not you want that kind of a drive every morning, but more importantly, you have to make sure that you get there on time. And so you rehearse this once and make sure you know how to get there and where it's at. Now, here's something that I recommend to people who are in your position. Get there at between 8 and 8:30 and park in front of the company and watch. Watch people walking to work. Watch whether or not they talk on the steps walking in. See what kind of dress code they're adhering to. See the flavor of the organization. See if people are bummed out going to work or whether or not they're on and up. See whether or not they look like a classy organization or maybe not such a flavorful organization. Make some decisions about the image, the dress code, the attitude, the flavor, as much as you can absorb by looking out your car window. Okay? Try it. You'll find it to be very, very helpful. A couple of things that you need to carry with you when you go to an interview. I would recommend that you all buy yourself smart-looking planners, like an executive planner. When somebody sees you carrying a planner, they are going to make some decisions immediately about your organizational skills, your time commitments, your adherence to a pattern, okay? I would also recommend that you take with you a manila folder that has a Stickum typed label on it, and the name of that label obviously is the name of this company. And in that manila folder, you have the annual report, if you can get it. You have all the corporate information that you took down, that you tried to pull during this gathering of information period. You have the 10 or 15 intelligent questions that you're going to ask written down, and you have a blank legal pad, okay? I would take yourself a manila file, so when you sit down with your employer, your future employer, they see how organized you are. Make sure you have a pen that represents the way that you want to come off during your particular meeting. It's a little point, but it's important, okay? All right, there's something else that I'm going to recommend, and it can't be done all the time, but I have a tendency before an interview to recommend that people break the ice by calling the interviewer on the phone the day before, just to say, Sue, my name's Pete Lefkowitz, an appointment's been arranged. I just want to let you know I'm looking forward to meeting with you, and I wanted to find out if our schedule is still intact. Oh, Pete, well, thanks for calling. Yes, it is. How nice of you to call. Terrific. I'll expect to see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Great. Thanks for calling. Click. I now have some form of rapport that's at least been established. I now also have separated myself from the 18 other people that didn't do that. Okay? And I now feel like I know her a little bit before I come into my interview. It just helps just a little bit. It may not be applicable on every interview, but just keep it in mind. It's another way that you might gain an edge. Something that people always ask is, how do I deal with the image situation? What type of image do I need to dress for? I'm not going to stand up here and tell you how you need to dress to interview. What I am going to tell you is that good image, in my mind, is defined very simply as matching whatever the hell the image is of the company that you're going to. Now, if you realize that their image is not your image, you may have uncovered a potential red flag. It's kind of hard for people to detract an image. And most people who are higher image than the companies that they're interviewing with don't get the job because you've intimidated those people that are not imaged where you are. So keep that in mind. What I am going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I perceive different industries' perception of dress. And this may help us a little bit, okay? In the industries of law, accounting, banking and finance, insurance, consulting, the medical industries, and data processing, there seems to have been one particular image that is a common denominator of those typical industries. And that is kind of a conservative, preppy, single-breasted jacket, non-forward fashion type of image. It is the conservative paisley tie, dark blue suit or a gray suit, not a wild tie, a button-down Oxford blend shirt with the pinpoint, with the collar buttons, okay? That seems to be the typical standard image for companies in those particular industries. There are other industries that have more fashion-forward type of images. The sales industry typically has a little bit more creativity allowed in its dress codes. PR firms, architectural firms, retail environments, entertainment businesses, hotel and restaurant and hospitality services, and real estate, and any type of brokerage that is deals oriented. There seems to be more of an allowance for double-breasted suits, Italian cut shoes, a little more creativity in your socks, a little more creativity in your tie. You have to try and match that as best as you can. But the one thing that I'm going to tell you, and that's why I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, dress the best that you're able to, and keep things in an image that you're comfortable in living in. Because if you go there in a whole different image than what matches your lifestyle, you're not going to be comfortable, and neither will the company. So do the best you can with what you have. If you're in a position where you can afford to go out and rebuy everything to match an image, and you make a commitment to stay in that image, then try it. But if you don't, and most of us can't, you're just going to have to, you're going to end up gravitating to a company that's kind of like you anyway. I will tell you a couple of things that I have personally found unacceptable when I interview people, okay? And things that my clients, who are other companies, determine are not acceptable, and maybe we can judge this off of ourselves. 100% polyester clothing doesn't seem to work anymore, okay? Long sideburns don't do the trick. Heavy makeup in women. Cologne that can be smelled at less than 3 feet in men or women, okay? Nobody interviews you to try and determine what you smell like. They have no interest in that. So go easy on the day of an interview, okay? Something that men don't realize. Your tie size, as it grows, the interest that a company has in you decreases. A tight, well-formulated knot has more sophistication than the big, lumpy, fill out your entire collar area. So keep that in mind. And it's something that most of us don't recognize, okay? Shoes that go unpolished are something that I've talked to a lot of employers about. Shoes are something that you can be dressed beautifully from head to your socks, but if you forget your shoes, you show project incompletion, okay? And shoes are something that most people, oh hell, they'll be under the table anyway, and they forget about that. Shoes are critical, so make sure that your shoes are well polished and acceptable. Obviously, bringing your ghetto blaster to the interview just won't work. This is something that I'll pinpoint to both men and women, I guess more so for women. One of the things that makes either male or female interviewers uncomfortable is any form of seductive wear. Anything that takes the interviewer's mind off of business. Something else that I found to be unacceptable is for a gentleman or a lady who has a suit on to wear a short overcoat that allows the bottom of the suit to hang out. And most people don't think of that because they figure when they get there, they'll take their jacket off, stick it in the closet, and they'll just have their brand new suit on. Wear a coat, an overcoat, if it's wintertime, if you're in an applicable climate, that covers the bottom of your suit jacket for men or ladies. And the other thing is just one of mine, and that is that we all know when we're 51% into our next haircut, okay? At 49%, you're okay. At 51%, it's time to clean up. It's as simple as that. Those are things that other employers that I've talked to, as well as myself, feel are just totally unacceptable during the interview process. Okay. The next thing that you want to rehearse is something that may sound foolish, but it's your walk. People tell many things about themselves by the way in which they walk. There are certain people that walk like this. And there are other people that walk like this. Okay? And there are other people that walk like this. And all kinds of, and they jump and they jiggle. And your walk tells your character. Okay? And you need to think about your presentation all the way down to your walk. Even more important than that, when your employer, your potential employer, walks you down the hallway and you get a chance to see him or her walk, study it. Is it military-like? Is it loose? Is it comfortable? Is it neurotic? Okay? Judge the walk. It's important. The other thing that you need to do is rehearse your eye contact, okay? Stand up for a second. You and I, you're the employer, and I'm in the lobby, and you walk into the lobby, and I panic, and I see you, and I get up real quick, and you walk towards me introducing yourself. Now watch my eyes, okay?
Hi, Tricia Hallison.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
All right, I guess I'm here to get started.
What's your name?
My name is Pete Lefkowitz. Okay, thanks. Do you know people who look at you in a certain way that kind of makes you kind of do this? And other people that make you kind of go, yeah, that's right. Yeah, how are you? Good. Nice to see you. Da, 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 da. You have to focus on the usage of your eyes when you meet somebody. The object is not to win. The object is not to stare each other down. But the object is to use your eyes to determine who are you going to be working with. Okay? I can remain neutral. Mike, you're the candidate, or you're the employer, and you walk in, okay? Come on in, and you say hello to me, and I stand up. Introduce yourself. Yeah.
How you doing there?
Fine. How are you, Michael?
Pretty good.
Good. Nice to meet you.
Glad to meet you. Come on in.
All right. Thanks. Did you see what my eyes did? Man to man. Okay, we're on the same level. I'm looking at him not from a standpoint like I'm here to take you down, but it's like I'm here to look at you, to measure you the same way that you're measuring me, but I'm not intimidating you. I'm just like looking at you. The other thing is rehearse your voice. In order to keep a certain amount of power in your voice, the voice needs to drop at the end of a sentence. Good morning. My name is Pete Lefkowitz. How are you? As opposed to, good morning. Hi, my name is Pete Lefkowitz. How are you? Do you hear the difference? Okay? You know, in music, the most powerful form of classical music goes boom, 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 boom. Okay, it doesn't go boom, 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 hello? You know, okay, it doesn't go up, it goes down. All right? Make sure you concentrate on that. Use your voice properly and practice it. Practice it. In the car on your way to the interview. Sarah, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Pete Lefkowitz. I've been looking forward to our meeting. Okay? Practice. Use all of the qualities that you can take.
How about as far as handshakes? Is that?
Handshake's real critical. Handshake's real critical. Why don't you stand up for a second? Okay? When most men greet, they have about enough tolerance for about a second of handshake time together. Okay? Then something comes out, and it's like this. Hi, how are you? That's enough. Okay? I don't know what it is, you know, maybe we all want to go like this or whatever. But most people don't like touching too long. Okay? Now what I found in females in the 80s are working on, you can have a seat, thanks. Females almost feel a need to desexualize, if that's a word, the employment process so that don't consider me a woman, don't consider me a man, just consider me an equal and somebody that can do this job. And the way that that has come out is in a handshake that sometimes can crush a man's hand. And I've seen this. I have found that the days of, hi, how are you, that's gone. And it's now, nice meeting you. Okay, let's start our meeting. So both men and women have to be conscious of the way in which they handle their hand. One of the things that really gets me is when you mess up a handshake. You're trying to do a good job, you know, and you stick your finger the wrong way, or you only grab this much, and you end up going, God, I felt like a wimp, you know, okay? All right, has that ever happened to you? Okay, there's one way to get around that, okay? I want you to try this. Open your hand up as wide as you can and hard. Oh, just open it, stretch that son of a gun, okay? Shake my hand, get in there. Okay, did you hear that? Okay, all right, open up, shake my hand. Open up. Okay, try it to each other. Open up. What we need to do is after a second, most people have a tendency of letting go. And so one or both hands mush at that time, okay? If you want a little bit of a physical edge, you mush last. It's as simple as that. Hi, how are you? Okay. Okay? Little simple thing to think about, but it helps sometimes. All these things coordinated properly lead to a good image.
That last little kind of gives it that.
Uh-huh. I'm here. I'm not here to offend you. I'm not here to challenge you, but I'm here. You know, right here. I'm looking at you. I'm talking to you. And I'm letting you feel my personal power as well. We've covered what we're going to do in the interview. Just a couple of keys. Number one, don't skip breakfast. Your stomach will growl during your meeting. And then rather than concentrating on what you want to do, you're going to be concentrating on going, okay? Don't skip breakfast. Eat. If you're doing an early morning meeting, get up extra early so that at 9 o'clock your body clock is on noon. Okay? Get up 1 or 2 hours early so that you're awake, you're ready to go. Talk to yourself as you're getting ready. Psych yourself up and keep yourself relaxed. There's nothing wrong in talking to yourself. Just don't answer yourself back. Okay? And I would recommend that you arrive between 7 and 10 minutes early. And that you can do because you've rehearsed the drive already. Give yourself a rehearsed opening that you're going to come out with. Then you go through your talk and you enjoy yourself. Concentrate on enjoying yourself. It's just an interview. It's just a meeting of two people. If you don't do well, their loss. That's all there to it, their loss, okay? It's nothing to get totally upset about. And now we come to the time of follow-up, and follow-up isn't such a big deal. Follow-up exists of either handwriting or typewriting a letter, thanking them for the meeting and expressing an interest in moving forward with the interview that you mail the same day of your interview. You go home, you type the letter up, or you have them all pre-typed, and you sign it, and you drop it in the mail the same day. They'll receive it the next day or 2 days later. 3 days after your interview, you call. Mr. Employer, I just wanted to let you know that I still have a sincere interest in moving forward. Thought I'd find out what your thoughts are in terms of us getting together for a second meeting. Okay? When you leave your interview, close on a second meeting. Ask for the job in a delicate fashion. Mr. Employer, Mrs. Employer, based on everything that I have seen up to this point, I just want you to know that I have a sincere interest in pursuing this. And I hope your thoughts are the same. And you leave. Make them aware of the fact that you want the job. If your job is more clerically natured, don't have a problem with just coming out and saying, based on what I understand about the job, I want to work for this firm. The higher up, the more you stay off of that directness. The higher up, the more you can dart around with it, okay? Based on our meeting today, I want you to know that I've got an interest in taking this to the next step.
You really want this job, it's in the great location and it's where you want to go. Is it by being a pain and keeping on this, is it beneficial?
Well, there's difference between keeping on them and being a pain. If a company wants to hire you, they will hire you. If a company doesn't want to hire you, your being a pain isn't going to cause them to hire you. Keep your business cool. Don't beg. Do what is necessary and then leave it alone. Let's review a little bit of what we've rehearsed so far, okay? Number one, I think we've talked about our format, breaking the ice. We go, they go, we go back and forth a little bit. We then do question and answer, right? We then rehearsed a little bit of our phraseology, action words, result words, leadership words. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'd love to. Exactly where would you like me to begin? We've rehearsed our presentation and the fact that there are basically 3 types of presentations we do. Number one is the short synopsis. The second is each individual job. And the third is breaking each one of those jobs apart into the technicalities that exist within that. We've rehearsed questions and answers with the prominent emphasis to be on developing questions that nobody else has asked, okay? Heavy, intense, educated, intelligent questions, okay? We talked a little bit about our listening skills and how we can show an employer that we are intense in receiving information as well as giving it. And we've talked a little bit about how to prepare ourselves physically. So that's pretty much the process of interviewing. It's a matter of getting your head right and setting your attitude properly. It's a matter of arming yourself with corporate information, job description information. It's rehearsing, rehearsing, rehearsing. It's going through the actual meeting, and then it's following up.
Now it is your turn. Do the exercises, write out your job histories, and do your rehearsing. Make sure you use the action, leadership, and results-oriented phrases we suggested. Now view the tape one more time. We think the whole process will come together for you. Your confidence level will rise, as well as your ability to successfully and professionally interview.